I think that's really important, that everyone needs to understand the ground rules before you get into this. And it's just, in some ways, it's like every organization should have a social media policy, because generally what happens is, you know, at top level, they'll say, oh, we want people to tweet, we want people to use Facebook, we want people to do this, and they don't really set the guidelines. They just say, yeah, go do it.
Next thing you know, they're sending pictures of their junk.
Well, yeah, or they're getting into arguments, or, you know, you have to make that clear. And so at the very front end, you need to say, this is what we want to accomplish. These are the things you can say and can't say. And within your corporate structure, you need to know where the trap doors are, you know, and don't let someone make that mistake on their own. They should know going into it that we can't write about this and we can't write about that. Yeah.
So if you have this kind of straitjacket situation, do you have any suggestions on how to loosen the straitjacket?
Having had to do that. You guys know how the guys in the Israeli combat infantry identify the ranking officer? No, what he says is, follow me. And I had an enterprise software company that was paying me to get them blogging. And the CEO had a blog. And he was so proud, he wanted me to get on it. I'm going through Google, I can't find it. Turns out he had it rigged so it would only float inside the company. Nobody could see it outside the company. And he's trying to get everybody else to do it so he can do a reduction in force. You know, you put a blog, you're fired. But I find if we can get the guys who are in charge of the policy to have to put some stuff out a couple of times a week, not just once. So if they start to look at, this is getting really hollow the way I've made it a bowling alley, you can start to widen it up. But you're playing with the psychology. You're not just playing with the, gee, are we using Tumblr or are we using Blogger? We're playing with the squirrely stuff, you know, between the ears.
Yeah. And that attitude on the part of management tends to lead to Chapter 11 files.
Seriously. By the way, Dana, why is it you're covering a certain industry you're covering now? Because it's right where PCs were in the early 70s?
Why am I covering renewable energy?
Exactly. Because what he says is this is where the growth is going to come.
Right. And this is the next boom. I mean, look, there is no energy shortage, people. There is no energy shortage. It's totally artificial. The sun shines, the wind blows, we live on a molten rock. What we lack are the devices to harvest the abundance. Once we get that into our head, the whole world changes. And so what I've kind of done as an amateur futurist throughout most of my career is look for those kinds of sea changes, and I get in way ahead of the crowd, and by the time the civilization gets there and they have the farms, or they have the city, the town, and all that, and everybody's fat and happy, you know, I put on my black hat, I ride off into the sunset, look for the next one, which is probably why I'm not rich.
One thing I would say to that also, to your question, is it doesn't hurt to find examples of other, whether they're competitors or other companies in the same industry, you know, where people are doing it, because if nothing else, again, people on an executive level tend to be pretty competitive. And you can say, hey, look what they're doing here. And not to say, well, you should be doing it too, but just to say, here's what's possible, here's how you can write about this industry in an engaging way, and you know, look how they're connecting with their customers. You know, I think it's, and you know, you can't go in and say, this is the be-all and end-all, you must do this. And I know I'm stating the obvious, but some people, they get so evangelical about it that they just scare people away and say, you're crazy. You know, what you need to do is to say, this is something, it's clear that everyone needs to be reaching out to their customers, consumers, their audience in different ways now. This is the way we can do it, and here's how you can lead. And I would say again that anytime you get positive comments, likes, whatever the hell they are, who doesn't like a like, you know? And if you take 100 likes to a CEO, they're going to be happy. That's a real little stroke for them. And so it's, you know, I think as Dick was saying, there's a lot of psychology involved in this, but it's just to feed the beast without scaring people.
But it's not all about quantity, is it?
No.
A lot of it, you talk a lot about how it's quality. I mean, one,
Your authentic voice.
well, I
authentic
mean,
story.
in terms of response.
Right.
I mean, one really great response, you changed my life, kind of response. If that's all, if that's the one you get, it can be better than 100, 150 likes.
Yeah,
Well,
just
you're
likes.
the tobacco-free children, right?
Right.
So you're all about outreach to the community. Your whole mission is to make a difference in children's lives and ultimately adults and the world. So if you must, I assume, have stories about the success of some of the programs, some of the outreach programs you've done. Those are all blog posts.
Right.
Now, whether or not you can cite an individual child, I don't know, but a program, a principal, somebody who's talking about the program, what they're doing, why they're doing it, what they learned, what they would do differently next time, those are all perfect blog posts. And I would imagine that that's the kind of thing that's so consistent with your organization's message and mission that it would be an easy thing, an easy sell within the organization.
Yeah, tobacco-free kids, I mean, the parents, they can write about their kids, they can write about kids. The people who are, you know, being affected, the people out, sometimes it's them that need to write the blog, not you.
Or adults.
And trying
When
to
did
get
you-
them to do it, yeah.
When did Barack Obama start smoking? I mean, there are statistics about when people on average start smoking, right? What were they exposed to in the year or two before they started smoking? You're all about undoing that.
Right.
Is that right?
Let me ask you a question. Based on the A's, what was the best thing you learned? What we're doing is we're measuring the audience so we can do better in the next round. Pick one thing. What was the best thing you learned?
Top of mind.
Top of mind what? Explain it so they get it.
The blog posts need to be about topics that are top of mind.
Immediately recognizable. Good. Anybody else? Oh, come on, I'm dying up here. Yes, thank you.
Looking at comments, I don't read the blog, so I don't manage it, so I don't follow it on the comments on a daily basis. But I realize I should be doing that. That's feedback that I don't see otherwise.
Well, thank you. All right. And by the way, if you make a comment, you will get all the comments in your email, so you don't have to go looking for it. Ah, clever these guys.
Oh, there's a little checkbox. Do you want to
Well,
follow
of course,
up?
yeah.
Right.
Starting with a question to pull people in.
Good. Anybody else? Matt?
You know the ground rules and find your passion. I was surprised when on Veterans Day,
Right.
our website had changed. And there was this whole thing that our owner insisted on putting about what is the importance of veterans and how we treat them.
Right.
I work for a service disabled veteran-owned company. I know it was important to the guy, but I'd never seen this before. And I thought, okay, we can have a blog in no time. I mean, it was really great stuff.
Right.
I had no idea it was coming.
Right.
And he took it down after Veterans Day.
I hate when that happens. Anybody else? What was the best thing you learned in the first part? Sir?
List cells.
Less cells, always. That's it. We're good. All right. Now, let's pick the second group. What's the second group of things we should talk about? And you can pick an A if you want to hit it for another reason. It's like the rules of the night fight, which cats do the Sundance Kid. There are rules.
But crisis prevention, damage control.
Oh, yes, that's when I failed.
All right. What else?
The most common mistakes, the worst practices, kind of what
Okay.
some of the most common mistakes people make
Oh, I
without
got one of
realizing.
those too.
Yep.
What's the comment in there? Comment show?
Comment shows.
Oh,
How can we beg people? I've worn out these pants getting comments, you know? Let's do that one. Comment show. How can you create more comments?
Can we amend the comment show to say how do we make a business case for a comment section versus not having one?
Oh, you're at that stage.
Oh, yes.
Okay, good. Go with Tumblr. They don't allow comments. So why comments? But with Discus, you can get comments put on to the bottom of your Tumblr. I mean, it looks like a cancer. Pardon? Promotion. Thank you. That's the one I came for. Matt?
Lighting the fuse,
Okay? All right.
under title.
Yep. Okay, is that enough to go for a second round? Carol, I know you're the girl, but you haven't been able to start one yet, so why don't you start us off? Start us off. Pick one.
Pick one anyway. Comment show. I have already mentioned that I comment a lot and I keep track of the comments and I make sure that that I keep track of the comments in response to
No, wait a
the
minute.
comments.
When you comment, what happens that's good for you?
What happens that's good for me is that people stay longer on the blog. Stay longer on the blog, read more, get more convinced about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, give me a larger opportunity to convince them that they really need to use me to help them start writing an autobiography, or whatever it is your product or service is.
By the way, just because I know she has the answer, as of yesterday, how many people in this audience have been to your post, and how much time did they spend, and what was the average number of posts they looked at?
Of the 24 people who were registered as of yesterday morning when I checked, 18 people had come to my post. They stayed an average of a minute and hundreds of a second, and they read an average of 3.3 pages. That is really good.
But we're not really counting. Just wanted you to know.
I check my stats every morning. And I was interested because I kept seeing the responses of people coming in, and so I wanted to know what organizations you all work for. Obviously, Cancer, Tobacco-Free Kids is close to my heart. Humane Society, I mean, you all are a wonderful cross-section of Washington. GSA, Fannie Mae, lots of folks. So the reason you want people commenting is because you want them to be engaged with your site, whether it's your the blogging part of your site or the larger part of your site. The whole point of a blog is to expose yourself to a larger audience such that they want more of you. They want to know more about what you're thinking, more about what you're doing, where you're going to be next, so that they can engage with you. And couple of the ways you measure is the number of pages they look at and how long they stay on your site. It gives you an opportunity to find out what they're most interested in and what you should be writing about next. Obviously, top of mind is what I want to write about, but also what you want to read about.
That was good. That was great. You want to talk about lighting the fuse? How to get more people into it? You don't have to. You can say no.
Yeah, there's so many things to say. It's where to start. Probably for me, the lighting the fuse is have as many touches in as many places as you can. My husband asked me, for instance, why I was actively promoting my Facebook page and my Twitter account, and I said because there's very little overlap between people who follow one or the other. I get friends and family who comment on my blog post. It's fed automatically to my Facebook page. I didn't even know they were reading it, except that they're commenting on it. So as it turns out, they are reading it. Twitter the same way. You're looking at a different set of people. Twitter, you can look more specifically at people's profiles before you decide if you want to follow them or if you want to try and invite them to follow you. But the more touches you have around the internet, the more people are likely to follow you back. I get a number of referrals from the Clorox side just because of one comment on the Clorox side, where I cited one post that I had written, I guess it's been 6 months ago now, and I'm still getting people who are finding me through the Clorox site. Who would have figured? So as many touches as possible in as many different areas that are relevant to who you are and what you're about.
Wait, just let me restate that. You put a comment on the Clorox site, sending them back.
I put a comment on the Clorox site to the blogger on the Clorox site saying something about a post that she had just written and how it was relevant to the post I had just written with a link back to my site.
And it was a relevant comment. I mean, that's another important thing. Some people do like semi-comment spam. They'll put something on your blog and say, oh, just like what I wrote. And a link, and it is.
Or nice article.
Yeah, isn't that nice? And it isn't.
It's how to buy cheap sunglasses is what they usually send you to.
Right.
Sir?
Would you launch a blog if commenting was not a priority for you?
Sure. If you go back to 1985, what we had was the Web 1.0. I'm putting this up, you can come and bow down to it. That's Web 1.0. Web 2.0 started with the book, The Clue Train Manifesto, where they said all marketing is a conversation, which means 2 ways. And through the Web Managers Roundtable, I've been at the Washington Post, I guess, 4 times, when they said, no, we're not going to have comments. Yes, we're going to have heavily edited comments. How can we rewrite the comments so nobody knows? And finally, screw it, we're going to lose the comments. So that, to me, is more of a process people go through of their thin skin or learning to take a joke.